The fantastic music world.
Rhythm in music notation. Hi, I am Trixie. Welcome to my music studio. Today, we will talk about how to make sense of the elements of music in music notation. Be sure to watch our previous video on the elements of music to first understand the foundational concepts. In our video on musical family, for basic note values and their respective rests are introduced. Be sure to watch that video too. To recap, here are the 4 note values and their rests, and their respective values, or number of beats. Crotchet. 1. Minim. 2. Dotted minim. 3. Semibreve. 4. In this series, we explore how rhythms are represented in music notation. Rhythms are patterns of notes and rests with different or the same duration or values, arranged against a steady beat. Think of a steady beat as our heartbeat, a steady beating of the heart at a constant rate. In music notation, beats are organized into groups of 2, 3, 4 or more beats per bar or measure. A bar is bounded by 2 vertical lines called bar lines on the stave. A double bar line marks the end of the music. The top number of time signature indicates the number of beats per bar. We shall talk about the bottom number later in the video. Here are more note values with shorter durations than crotchets. We shall use a pi to illustrate. Crotchet's value is 1, so that's a whole pi. When we divide the pi equally into 2 portions, each portion is one of the 2 portions, or we call half. This is quaver. This is quaver rest. It stops for half a beat. A quaver is half of a crotchet. So, there are 2 quavers in a crotchet beat. When there are 2 quavers together, their individual flags are beamed with a horizontal line. Let's continue to divide the pi further into smaller portions. We divide the pi equally into 4 portions now. So each portion is one of the 4 portions. We call this quarter. This is semiquaver. Notice that semiquaver has 2 flags. This is semiquaver rest. It stops for a quarter of a beat. As 1 semiquaver is a quarter of a crotchet, there are 4 semiquavers to a crotchet beat. When there are 4 semiquavers together, their individual flags are beamed with 2 horizontal lines. 2 flags, 2 lines. Now, let's take a look at dotted notes like the dotted minim. The dot next to the right side of a note adds half more of the value. In dotted minim, minim equals 2 crotchet beats. The dot adds half more of minim, that is, 1. So, dotted minim has 3 crotchet beats. Now, let's put on our thinking cap for some challenging questions here. Please pause the video and work out the answers. I would love to hear from you, so do post your answers in the comments below. I will demonstrate how to derive the answer to question E using the pi method. Quaver is half a pi. The dot adds half of a quaver, which is a semiquaver. Add another semiquaver to that, and we will have 1 whole pi, that is, 1 crotchet. Now that we know the value of each type of note and rest, let's assign each of them with a sound that corresponds to its value. This will make note reading so much easier. We will arrange notes and rests to form rhythms, and assign sound to some common rhythmic patterns. With practice in vocalizing notes and rhythms as you play the music, you will internalize even complex rhythms. A strong sense of time and steady beats will be developed, and your accuracy and speed of note reading will greatly improve. As a result, you will love the challenge to learn new pieces of music yourself. Crotchet has 1 beat, so that's ta. Minim has 2 beats. Imagine drawing a line across or down as you vocalize minim or minim rest. Ta, ah. Dotted minim has 3 beats. Imagine drawing a triangle as you vocalize dotted minim or dotted minim rest. Ta, ah, ah. Semibreve has 4 beats. Imagine drawing a square as you vocalize semibreve or semibreve rest. Ta, ah, ah, ah. The sound of a quaver is T. 2 quavers together, it's TT. The sound of 4 semiquavers that make up a crotchet beat is tika tika. Here are some common rhythms involving dotted notes. Ta, ah, ti. Ta, ah, tika. Ti, tika. Long, short. Rhythms are meaningful only when they are set upon a steady beat. Let's use 4/4 time signature to create some rhythms. First, the steady beats for 2 bars, then, the rhythms. Ta, ta, ta. Shh. Ta, 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 ah. Ta, ti ti, ta, ti ti, ti 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 ti, ta, ah, ti, tika tika, ti ti, long, short, ta, ta, ah, tika, ti, tika. Shh. Now, I'll play the first 4 bars of a song. See if you can figure out the written rhythms. Try vocalizing the rhythms aloud as you hear the song in the steady beats. Which rhythmic pattern correctly represents what you have just heard? A, B, C, or D? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Let's listen to another song. This is the famous bridal march that is joyful, lively, and happy. Which rhythmic pattern correctly represents what you have just heard? A, B, or C? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Let's learn more about time signature. Remember that the top number indicates the number of beats per bar. The bottom number indicates the type of beats. Bottom number 4 represents crotchet beats, 2 represents minim beats, and 8 represents quaver beats. See the examples below. I hope you have learned more about music in this video. Please like and subscribe. If you would like to dive deeper into a specific topic of rhythms, or see more examples and exercises, do let me know in the comments below. I hope you have enjoyed this learning journey with me. There is so much more to learn in the music world. Let's continue to explore in the next series. See ya!
The fantastic music world.